Hi, my name is Sofia Guerrero and I am a Rotarian from Club Rotario de Quito in Quito, Ecuador. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed an unnoticed fragility across low and high-income countries. And to my opinion, it especially highlighted the fact that not all societies can stand to peace and development crises in optimal ways. Coming from a developing country, I witnessed major setbacks on low governance, health system capacities, millions to extreme poverty, domestic, sexual, and gender-based violence, as well as vaccine inequity and food insecurity. At the same time, I must mention engaging gains achieved like communication, which improved dramatically, medical advances and health processes accelerations to save lives, not just from COVID, but also from different illnesses that seemed impossible to be cured. Digitalization opened new opportunities for job creation and human interaction. Geographic boundaries seem to not exist anymore. Nowadays, we have this major call to increase flexibility and the ability to work together as a society to safeguard lives and our planet's evolution, and to confront as one the ongoing economic, social, human, political, and security debt.
Well, in many ways, COVID has changed all our lives. I was a gentleman who used to travel 6 times a year, 6 around the world trips, had been doing it for over 30 years. I haven't travelled for 2.5 years. And what we've done is we've replaced it with Zoom. And in many ways, that's been a boon because I now find that I'm doing a lot more international speaking than what I ever did because I don't have to travel to a conference anymore and doing it. So I think that concept of sort of a virtual world opening up has been profound. But I'll now pull back to the peace and conflict work which we do. And so we've just released a global terrorism index. And one of the things which is most profound in that has been the drop in terrorist instances in Western countries. And by the West, I mean Western European countries, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. Countries similar. And so what we've found is that the number of terrorist incidences or attacks is down 75%. We put a lot of that down to the lockdowns, which have been associated with COVID. So there's not such big targets to attack. People aren't going out anywhere near as much. And the other thing is just a turn inward. So people now a lot more concerned about their personal safety and health. And so a lot of emotions have turned inward. So, and that's postulation, but we think that's there. But combined with it, violent demonstrations are also down about 8%. And they had been increasing for the last decade about 10% per annum. And it was a pretty steady increase. And so that's one of the things we can see coming out of it. But I think the long-term impact of COVID is the impact on the economy. So if we look at debt currently, we look at it in the advanced economies, and you look at, and this is gross debt, and it's all government debt, individual debt, and corporate debt. It's 245% of GDP. And so this is profound. And so we've got rising inflation currently. And so the effects of this could be very dampening on economies locally and globally. And that then will have a whole knock-on effects in terms of increases in violence. But we still have to wait and see how the next couple of years unfold.
I think that one of the greatest gains or achievements, if you will, from COVID, if we can take opportunities out of it, is reflecting upon the fact that every man, woman, and child transited through this together. No one had a pass. No one, was able to say that they had enough money, they could buy their way out of it. We all had to go through this. And I think it's been an incredible global level set and just the way that we are able to interact and interface with each other, that, I don't know, it's created, I think, in many ways, a level set of humanity. And, even the world leaders of our countries were broadcasting from their dining room tables. And for all of us to sort of have something so incredibly shared, I think that's been quite profound. Clearly, we know that there's a lot of things that have caused us to struggle out of this as well. And isolation, which has led to all sorts of different kinds of mental health issues. That's been of extraordinary challenge. But then the opportunity that's come out of that is to see the best of humanity. People, certainly in Rotary clubs around the world, reaching out and making sure that neighbors and colleagues and friends and loved ones have been looked out for. And, we've seen even in the midst of COVID, that didn't stop natural disasters and different things like that from happening, and how we've been able to rally, not just Rotary clubs, but humankind, how we've been able to rally around taking care of each other in many ways. So I think we've seen the best and the worst of what's been going on in our world. And I think it's incumbent upon us to take the best from the worst and figure out how do we move forward in this space and not forget what we've just been through. It's going to be really easy to be able to say, oh, look at things are back to normal and move on. Steve was just talking about traveling. I've had the opportunity over the past couple of weeks to travel a little bit, and it feels relatively normal. I can tell you this much: I'll continue to wear a mask even once the mask mandates go away, because just feeling healthier during travel is something that I think I'm going to want to make sure that it stays as part of my new protocol. But taking that best of the worst is something I think we need to all focus a lot of attention on, and not just try to get back to what was normal. And, as we come out of this right now, we are seeing a lot of instability. We're seeing a potential world war breaking out. We're seeing all different kinds of things, the rising inflation that Steve just talked about, the rising costs of everything. So it's an opportunity, I guess, just to sort of round it out. It's an opportunity for us to be better to each other. And I think at the end of the day, if we can count that as the biggest victory out of what has been a horrible situation, that leads to peace in our homes, peace in our countries, peace in our hearts. And that's, I think, what we all strive and want.